Now, you're a man of wisdom, and you know when talking to men of wisdom, you must ask for their pieces of advice. What advice would you give to upcoming entrepreneurs in Africa or just Kenya? I know we may have talked of it, but then we just want to see a wider conversation on that. Thank you, Tonee.
I think Africa is in a very special place right now. Prior to this, we were 10 years ago, 20 years ago, we were looked down on globally as a continent that nothing good came from, mainly because it was a narrative that was pushed out into the world. Not that we didn't do anything, but now with social media, it's become very easy for us to tell our own stories and elevate ourselves in a global platform. I think as entrepreneurs, this is a really good opportunity to do that as well, for yourself and for the business that you're creating. But I will be very honest in saying that it doesn't simplify the work, it just exposes the work to the world. So take your time, think about what it is you want to accomplish, learn what it is you want to do, spend a little bit more time with people who know what they're doing. Because if you're going to succeed, you're going to succeed very publicly, but if you're going to fail, you're also going to fail very publicly. And it's not that failure is a bad thing, but it becomes a little bit of a challenge to raise the next round of capital to make things work. So I would suggest that as an entrepreneur, just gird yourself, start small, rely on humble beginnings. And when you are able to start growing, grow with solidity. Don't grow fast, grow slowly, grow well. Make sure that your fundamentals for a company, cash flow, profit and loss statement, paying tax, paying your staff, good office revenue, shop, whatever. Make sure all of those things are in the right place. Once you have that, it'll become very difficult, if at all, for your business to fall over, unless like a catastrophe like COVID, for example, comes around again, which is a rare thing. But I think it's important for us to all make sure we, as entrepreneurs, we have the basics done right. And when you do, it becomes very difficult for your business to fail because of mistakes you never saw coming. Those are my thoughts.
Wow. Thank you so much for such a rich thought, Tonee. Yeah, so you find that most entrepreneurs, they always want to start out and maybe within a year, they want to be billionaires. Now, what kind of advice or piece of advice would you give to such entrepreneurs who would really want to scale up so fast without really acknowledging the challenges that would come with a startup? Yeah.
That's not a good goal. First of all, let me just start there. Yeah. It's not a good goal. I would not go in. If you start a company trying to be a billionaire, you probably fail. And that's just really the end of it. The very basic situation is you likely fail. And the reason for it is because I'm not sure there are many people who started companies with the intention of making $1 billion from it or 1 billion shillings. They started companies trying to solve a problem. Solve a problem. Stop being excited by cars and houses and cool things. No, solve a problem. Just solve a problem. It's not bad to wish that. I'm not going to say stop wishing it. Yes, wish it, write it down, make dreams, hopes, do it. But let that be the outcome of the goal. And then focus on the goal. Let the goal drive you. And the goal will drive you to the billion. That's no problem. Let the goal drive you to that money. But then the money should not be the thing that defines who you are, right? I keep saying, and I say to myself and I say to my children, if money changes you, because it does, if money changes you to a bad version of yourself instead of a good version of yourself, it means that you were never ready for it, right? And I think it's important to make sure when you have an opportunity to have some money, it's supposed to propel you into the character that you already have. It's supposed to accelerate the good things about you more than decelerate you or move you back. And I think that's why it's important not to focus on the money, focus on the goal. Because if your goal is to serve other people, the more money you make, the more people you serve. And the more fulfilled you are by the people you serve. But then the end result is the more money you make. And the more money you make, the more people you serve. And then it keeps going around and you end up finding yourself being a positive impact into your society and community. But if you're depraved by that money, right? If that money is a deterrent to goodness, you're not going to keep it for very long. You're going to lose it because you're going to lose your customers and people are going to lose faith in you. So I think it's important to keep the goal first. If you keep the goal first, yes, plan to get the money, make plans for living a good life, do all of that. That's great. But focus on the goal and set your sights on it. And hopefully sooner rather than later, you should be able to make that reality happen.
Oh. So we shouldn't actually be driven by how much should be making, or we shouldn't actually be thinking on when to become a billionaire, but let the problem is solving act as the goal to drive and accelerate us to our main point of focus. Thank you so much for that, Tonee. I guess that's well captured. And so we'll be moving to our very last bit. And you talked about the books, the documentaries, and the movies that an entrepreneur should really be checking into just to learn. So the question is, what books, movies, or documentaries would you recommend to entrepreneurs when starting out?
Wow, there's so many.
Yeah.
I think it's important to start by saying a lot of the times it depends on the kind of individual you are. There's no book for you or specific tool to use. I don't think that's how it's supposed to be. But I do think if you sit down and you decide, I'm going to go look for these things, you will find them. And they're very easily available. And whether it's books by Wale Akemi, or you want to get something from Steve Case, or, I don't feel like that's really the issue. I think what is really important, or what should really matter, is can you be able to get something that is relatable, that you can understand, and that you can apply. So that's really where I would go. I would go look for something that works for you, whatever that is, and work from there. So that's I think that's where I would start. I would start by doing that. If you can be able to do that, then there's an opportunity there. But that's my thinking, honestly. I will not tell you what books to read. Go find the books that work for you. Podcasts, find what works for you. Find out what works. Once you find out what works, then move from there is what I'd suggest.
Now, as Tonee, we would really want to have you as our role model, and maybe we'd really want to know the books that you've read that have really made you see the light, that have really made you to learn, to know so much about startups and all that, where you actually, the kind of books that inform you, that engages you, that equips you with the right skills just to engage and push the startups who really started out forward. Yeah.
I think, okay, so I'll tell you two books. One of them is called The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho.
Yeah.
I think it's a good book to read. And the other one is called How to Be an Entrepreneur. It's a very straightforward book. I think I even have a copy here. It's a pretty straightforward book. It's actually called How to Think Like an Entrepreneur.
How to Think Like an Entrepreneur.
Simple book by Daniel Smith, How to Think Like an Entrepreneur.
Yeah.
If you can start with those two books, then there's an opportunity for you to see things there. But there's many books. I mean, I have got 50 books on it, so I would suggest start there and then see where it goes from there.
Wow. Thank you so much, Tonee. I've heard of The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho, and it's such a nice book, and I'm so happy to hear such a recommendation coming from your side. Thank you so much, Tonee. Up to that point, we don't really have much to add, unless there's something you feel you'd really talk about which you've really not captured. Thank you. Back to you, Tonee.
No, I think I'm good. Thanks for the call. I appreciate the time. And yeah, I look forward to helping where I can.
Yeah, thank you so much. We would really engage more and more with you. Thank you for the rich knowledge you have, and thanks for creating time to be part of this.